Let's look into some of the important services with AWS. Amazon Web Services is one of the leading cloud service provider. We get many components. We can use them as a service. As we are going to use as a service, they are called as cloud services. Let us look into some of the important cloud services. The first most important component is EC2. EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud. In a simple way, we can call it a server. So for that matter, if you consider any environment, any cloud service provider, they give more importance for server infrastructure. Same is done with AWS also in the form of EC2 will become the fundamental component for most of the services. So EC2 is the important component for us, which we're going to explore them in detail each and every component of EC2 from DBA perspectives also. This is the first important component. Now when it comes to EC2, is a combination of a few components internally. It is basically a virtual machine. Any cloud services where they provide a server is always in the form of virtual machine. We can for users it is a server. So when you say server, it is a combination of three important components always. So one is processor. So processor is the one which will give importance always. This one is the processor. You can go for a processor of your requirement capability. So then the amount of memory you need, you can use that, because next to processor is the memory that we're going to use. So memory we're going to use. So it's a combination always. Processor plus memory is a combination. Then we got storage. So where we can choose the type of storage and even the AWS also, and amount of storage that we need. So all these three are the combination of your server. Associated with this, we got other components also, but okay, these are the three main components that we consider. Even when we want to buy a laptop or desktop, we first consider processor, then memory, then storage. Similar lines we also consider for EC2 also. When we are going for a server, what is that? Okay, so processor you need, memory combination you need. For what purpose you need, okay, you're going to decide. So there we call as instance type. Memory processor and memory combination is called as instance type, because EC2 is called as instance, EC2 instance. So these are the three key components of any EC2 instance. We basically virtual machine, so which is a server for users. So this is the first component. The next important component is S3. S3 is simple storage service. It's a simple storage service. It's a storage service basically. Means we're going to get one more infrastructure component service, storage. This S3 is somewhat similar to our external storage, which we use it for our laptops or desktops, in which we're going to store some of the important files. Basically, they are backups of some files, be it photos, be it or documents that we have prepared. We keep them in external storage device, which is associated or attached to our laptop, desktop. Same way, S3 is most of the time associated with one of the AWS components, for example, like EC2. Is also associated with many other components. Means whenever we say we are going to take backup and we are going to maintain, it is stored in S3. Simple storage service is equal to external storage, which you're going to use. Now, basically we use it for backup purpose. Backups are stored in S3. Any content that is archived means okay, it should be maintained. If you want to unarchive, if there is a facility, it can be unarchived also. So that is done using stored in S3 itself. Archived contents also stored in S3, which is a different type of backup, in fact, which is a appreciable requirement. And we can use S3 not only associated with one of the AWS component, it can be used as a standalone component also. most of the time you may have come across, whenever you download something from some of the websites, it will download it from S3. So website files are also stored in S3. Means fundamentally it is required for backups. Can also be used, means it is also used for archives, content archived, and can be used as a standalone component to host website files. In fact, we can host website itself, or any content that can be used through portals, websites is also accommodated in S3 itself. Simple storage service, a storage service for us to use for our purpose, is the next important component. Now, when you consider any of this EC2 or S3 or any other components, will be there in AWS, which is basically a public cloud. Public cloud means even other account holders also will be using the same set of resources. But how we should have our own area, private area, is VPC. VPC. What is VPC? Is virtual private cloud. VPC is virtual private cloud. Means our own private area within AWS. We can consider somewhat similar to, which we'll see in the detailed way, somewhat similar to in a layout where there hundreds of plots are available. So you will have your own plot. For that you will have a compound. So for your plot within which you can have any type of construction. So you will have a compound. So that is VPC. Now if you take in AWS, what is VPC? Is virtual private cloud. Is a way where we can secure resources of a specific account. That is one thing. So means is used for security purpose. Is used for security purpose. Any access of any components within VPC, necessary configuration need to be done so that then only the resources can be accessed, because it is a private area for a specific account. In AWS cloud, which is a public cloud, private area is there for every account. That is, so any resource that you store, you will store it in VPC. Then second advantage or usage of VPCs is also for networking purpose, networking settings. We provision a server, then we start using it. How that necessary networking configurations are done is done part of VPC. So it's a way where we can accommodate our objects to secure them, and also is a way where we can use them. Our resources are used for networking configurations also. Is for two purposes, security and networking purpose. So next is RDS. RDS is a type of DBAs, type of database as a service. But for database administrators, particularly those who are working as DBAs for popular RDBMSs, RDS is important. Relational database service is important. So when you say RDS, relational database service, when you say relational database service, is going to service only the RDBMSs. So example, we know, for example, Oracle is used, SQL Server, the next most popular RDBMS is SQL Server. So recently DBT is also supported. MySQL is one widely used RDBMS which is compatible for portals, is also supported. And other emerging databases like PostgreSQL is supported. So most of the RDBMSs, almost all which are popular, is supported in AWS RDS. So RDS is, we can consider, is extension of DBAs, database as a service, where we got very big advantages. Is one of the preferred service in AWS, because we can provision any type of database, and even if you go for multiple type of databases, there are activities that we're going to perform which has been generalized. It has been made common irrespective of the RDBMS you're going to use. Because of this, we can take care of multiple databases in RDS environment. The next important component is DBAs, database as a service. So RDS is extension of DBAs, but we got database as a service also. Means we use databases as a service, where we can get somewhat similar to RDBMS facilities, and we can also get some of the NoSQL facilities also. where we use some of the databases for OLAP purpose. Some of them they are for production purposes also. If you consider in that way, Redshift is somewhat similar to RDBMS, but it is outside RDS because it is not purely RDBMS. RDBMS kind databases are available. Redshift is for warehousing environment, which is one of the preferred database because it is a cost-effective solution with the best features available. Because the cost of databases with proper infrastructure in for warehousing databases is always expensive. That is reduced here with Redshift, where we get all those RDS facilities at the same time, so we can use those facilities with lesser cost. The cost of ownership is lesser. DynamoDB was introduced by AWS to accommodate document-oriented data, and even for today, so it is also one of the databases that is used. But what happened is with big data, NoSQL databases, a lot of enhancements took place, and there are popular NoSQL databases. So in that space of operational big data, so one such is MongoDB. To be compatible with MongoDB, AWS introduced DocumentDB. DocumentDB is compatible to MongoDB. Compatible to MongoDB. So it is MongoDB compatible. Whatever the application that we can use with MongoDB can be used with DocumentDB also. Enhancements are done for DocumentDB, where we can get RDS kind of facilities for DocumentDB. Then the next most popular to MongoDB. MongoDB is treated as number one NoSQL database to support data that is stored in MongoDB. So MongoDB should be accommodated here. It is done as DocumentDB. So DocumentDB is compatible to MongoDB. All those content that you can store in MongoDB can be stored in DocumentDB. All those applications that supports MongoDB can be used with DocumentDB also. Means you can consider DocumentDB is equivalent to MongoDB itself. MongoDB compatible database is DocumentDB. Then we got Cassandra is considered as column-oriented NoSQL database. So key spaces is compatible to Cassandra. What are the content that we can store it in Cassandra, in which of the way we store, and we can use it with key spaces. All those applications that you can run with Cassandra can run with key spaces also. So two popular NoSQL databases, MongoDB is supported in the form of DocumentDB. Then Cassandra is supported in the form of key spaces. So these are some of the important services with respect to RDS and DBAs. Because for database administrators, these two areas are important. And whenever any service is provisioned for this, they are called as DB instances, is nothing but EC2 instance internally. Now let us look into some of the other components which are important, which are associated with the database administration, normally taken care by the other team. In case in some environment, okay, we need to involve also one such is ELB, elastic load balancing. Elastic load balancing. See, whenever we want to run applications, so we run with the one server, so then the load is on that server. Now we may go for adding additional servers, but we have to enable load balancing, which is one of the tedious, time-consuming, cumbersome activity if you take real time. But okay, with AWS, it can be done with a single-click activity. When you provision EC2 instance, whenever you provision EC2 instance, you can make it part of ELB. ELB is configured. You make your server part of ELB, and you don't need to worry further. So the request that comes to servers within ELB will be distributed across all the available servers. Automatically, the load balancing is taken care, which is one of the biggest advantage that we get. The load balancing for servers is done automatically by AWS itself with a simple click of the activity. While provisioning EC2 instance, you choose it should be part of an ELB, so it is part of an ELB, elastic load balancing. So that ELB is a facility provided by AWS to balance the load across the available resources. Then next is auto scaling. one of the advantage of AWS is we can use as much resource we need as long as we need, and we start with small configurations. As days progresses, as usage increases, we can grow our infrastructure. So that is what we can grow. That can be done manually or automatically also. Here we can go for auto scaling. Automatic scaling can be enabled. So for example, you can go for auto scaling your storage. Whenever the storage is filled, okay, you can make it to expand. You can also define what is the maximum length it can grow also. And whenever you've added servers to your RLB, if usage reduces, so if it reduces with a small percentage of CPU under a particular percentage, then that server is not required now because we got more resource now. So it can be brought down. Means when we say auto scaling, it is not scaling up only, it can be scaling down also. Auto scaling, for that internally it has to measure the usages. And can we monitor that usage? Yes, we can do. There's a facility called as CloudWatch. We got a facility called as CloudWatch. The next important component for us is CloudWatch is a monitoring facility, monitoring the usages. We are going to monitor the usages. Usage facilities are done here. CloudWatch is a facility for us to watch the resources usage, resource monitoring and managing tool. So this we can use it for our purpose. At the same time, internally also, whenever you want to do auto scaling, for example, load balancing, for example, it is going to use CloudWatch itself internally. So there we can enable CloudWatch. Default basic is available. If you want to go for enhanced, you can also do that. So CloudWatch is a facility for us to understand the usages, where we can get the granular level of usages, and we can get more detailed information so that we can take informed decision based on the information that we got. When we go for creating AWS account, we are going to use the resources, and we have to secure the account also, and we have to allow users to connect and work with the servers. Only those users who are authorized to do it, okay, we should be allowing them to connect and work. For that, we got IAM, identity and access management, is equal to user and permission management, or user and privilege management. Identity and access management, IAM, is important because we have to go for users where they should have only the required permission to work with the resources. If you create a user, so assume that the DBA need to work, must connect as user and should work, and we want DBAs to work with only RDS or only DBAs, we can do that. Or we can restrict them to only work with EC2 or only with S3 or combination of this. Means we can create users, we can provide them the necessary permissions for working with a specific set of components. So that is what IAM is, identity and access management. These are some of the important components from DBA perspective.